talk was sort of a placeholder. It was a touch of gray because Mark and I are both Grateful Dead fans, and we got into this conversation about creativity and how it works, and I shared with him this quote from Jerry Garcia. And the Grateful Dead, look, love them or hate them, people seem to fall into two camps. You can't deny they were one of the most prolific bands in history. They played over 2,300 concerts. So think about that for a minute, do that math. And I'm talking about like stadiums of 50,000 people, 2,300 times. They wrote 184 original songs. All told, they played 501 songs, so they had like 317 cover songs. Just an incredible amount of creativity. They started, whatever, late 60s. That's me as a deadhead. Take that, Aaron Draplin. So in 1987, they come out with this record, In the Dark. It finally, for the first time, they get a song in the Billboard top 10. It's called A Touch of Grey. And when they asked Jerry Garcia how it felt to finally be in the mainstream for the Grateful Dead, he said, did anyone ask the mainstream how it felt to finally have the Grateful Dead? And so that's somehow how we titled this talk, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about creativity, not Worthshop. Worthshop is an event that we put on every year. We started in 2011, this is our 6th year doing it. And Mark Davison was gracious enough to come in the first year, and he gave a talk. And he talked about disruption and creativity, and he gave all these examples and all these different verticals of all these businesses that have done this great work and have been disrupted and executed on their creative work. And he talked in depth about their brands and their identities and their look and feel and how it translated in their origin stories, and nobody got it. And that's kind of what I want to impact today, is sort of the why behind why no one got it. And I want to start by saying that I don't know shit. And in a way, not knowing shit gives me a huge advantage. Because, like my dad used to say, at least you're clear about your confusion. Now, I'm a real estate broker, and in the real estate industry, we all think we know shit. And we're horribly unclear about our confusion. And I think that extends to the sort of peripheral business around real estate. We think we know shit, and we're unclear about our confusion. So I'm going to hope to get that right. And while I'm quoting my dad, his name actually was Bushrod. I've been wrong so long, but I'm going to get right tonight. So look, a lot of what I'm going to say is it's all stuff that you've heard before. It's like diet and exercise. Everyone knows that diet and exercise is like how you maintain your weight and how you stay healthy and how you impact your cognition and all these things. But how many of us diet and exercise or are people who just pack that into our lives? Sometimes we might do it in spurts. We might go on a cleanse or do some certain thing, or like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym in January. But it's not a part of who we are. So I want to start to impact this thinking about creativity. And this is probably the most important slide in the whole deck. And that is that creativity is a skill. It's something that can be learned. It's like a muscle. You have to use it. You have to flex it. You get better at it. And when I say creativity, I don't mean like arts and crafts. I mean the use of the imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of a work. Imagination and original ideas. And I think, I'll speak for myself in the real estate industry, we don't have creativity as a distinction. It's this sort of etheric thing that floats out there, that stuff just falls from the sky and things work, or we don't really understand it because we don't speak that language. But if we create it as this thing that can get better and is a skill and is a language and it can be worked on, it can be expressed, then we can start to kind of understand it a little bit. So that's what I'm going to hope to kind of pull at that sweater thread. So most of us want our current circumstances to be different than they currently are. And I think if you examine that statement for a minute, you'll start to realize how kind of absurd it really is, but nonetheless, it's true. We all want our businesses, our lives, our careers We want something better for it. We want it to take it somewhere. We want to make it, more express. But somehow in that process, there's this fear of stagnation. We don't want to sit still. We don't want to be stuck in those circumstances. So instead of being creative, we kind of go back to our default. We get busy, and we go back to what we know, and we start working on stuff, and we're very busy, and we're going. And that busyness, is not our happy place. Like filing emails into folders and calling all the people that you know to call. That's not creative work. And somehow that busyness causes a creative atrophy. Like we stop using the muscles that give us the awareness of what creativity is and how it works in our lives and our businesses. And that atrophy leads to incomprehension. And so we don't even speak the language. We can't even relate to creativity. It shows up as Greek to us and totally foreign when we see something that is obviously, creative genius. The incomprehension further leads to this prevention of execution. So not only do we not understand the creative work, we can't act on it. So ironically, that lack of execution creates its own stagnation. And so what we end up with is stagnation, and we're stuck in our current circumstances. So it's like this vicious circle of suckiness. Like your current circumstances give you this fear of stagnation, and then in response to that fear, you get really, really busy. And that busyness, the result of it is this atrophy of the creative muscles, which leads to incomprehension, which leads to stagnation, and then leaves you stuck where you were in the first place. And if we could overcome the concern for whatever it is that doesn't let us act on creativity, we could impact those current circumstances, and we could be more expressed, and we could have more powerful businesses. And so I want to suggest that we get creative. Now, what does that mean? You can start by hiring Mark and Brian and people like my partner Winston.
Yay.
But which you should. But if you do that, you have to also begin to understand what their work product is. You have to have a little bit of awareness about creativity. Otherwise, they're going to show up and they're going to present something to you. You're going to have no idea what it is. So how do we do it? Well, we have to create a context. We have to provide for ourselves and our lives for that originality, that original thought, and that imagination to come in. And it's not by being busy. We have to put structure in place. We have to do things for ourselves. We have to start getting reps. So you have to start small. You have to do things for yourselves and your lives that let these imaginations, these original thoughts come in. You have to practice. There's a lot of trial and error in this. You have to be willing to let ideas show up that suck. Maybe it's not a good idea, but it showed up, and that's good. You have to do it again and again and again. Creation is in part merely the business of foregoing the great and small distractions. Look, this device is not a source of creativity. At best, it's a tool maybe for expressing creativity, but you're not going to find it here. So where do you get it? Well, you can start by getting more sleep. And if you're following, neuroscience or Ariane Huffington or anything that's out there, you're going to realize that this is the most important thing you can do for yourself and your life and your health and your wellness and your cognition and everything. It's better than diet, it's better than exercise, it's better than reading a bunch of books. Just get more sleep. It sounds simple, but we don't do it. You can take a walk. And I don't mean just walk to work, I mean take a walk for a walk's sake. You can take a bath. How many of us have great ideas in the bath? And you can take time off. Now, if you've seen Michael Moore's new documentary, again, Love Him or Hate Him, but he does this piece on the Finnish school system. And ironically, the Finnish kids are testing off the charts in the world. They're apparently the smartest kids in the world. They also have the least amount of school time. And they have no homework. Imagine. Take time off. Go for a bike ride. You know, my partner Winston constantly is sharing, you know, the other day I was on this bike ride and I had this great idea, and what follows after that ellipsis is like the greatest thing you've ever heard, right? It's no wonder Mark Davison tomorrow has invited all of us to go on a long bike ride. Is it any coincidence that the smartest creative guy in the room wants us all to go on a really long bike ride tomorrow? Another quote from Winston all the time. I was walking the dogs and I had this huge epiphany that, you know, and then something awesome comes out. And just to give you some experience of that, this is Winston and his dog Mochi. I could just watch this all day. Tell me, you couldn't sit on that beach and watch that dog run and catch that ball and not have an original thought or a little imagination show up. I was kiting yesterday afternoon. Winston's a kite surfer, and I had a whole new clarity on the design of blah, blah, blah. This is Winston kiting. Now tell me that doesn't look focused and clear. You know what I don't hear, though? I don't hear, yeah, the other day I was checking my email, and it really hit me then. Or like I was compulsively looking at Facebook, and I had this awesome idea that blah, blah, blah. It never happens. So I'm going to do something right now, and this is going to require a little bit of work, and it's going to require you to shut down your phones for just a second. But is there any way we can dim the house lights? I want to just ask everybody to close your eyes. And once all your eyes are closed, we're going to just do something that'll be very quick. I'm going to count backwards to 1 from 3. And when I get to 1, I want you to take a big inhale and then a big exhale. Some of you might be doing it already now, just hearing me say it. And when you take that breath, I just want you to be mindful that you're in fact doing that, taking a big inhale and a big exhale. So, ready? 3, 2, 1. Inhale and exhale. Okay, you can open your eyes. So, what we did right there, like right there, was meditation. And when you hear the word meditation, you think about, you know, sitting cross-legged under a tree with a Buddha in India and like thinking about nothing, which is impossible. And that's what keeps you from meditating. But you just got a rep. You just meditated. And we don't do that for ourselves. That's what starting small is. It's just taking a breath. And the more you do it, and the more you're conscious of it, and the more you bring your mind back to your breath, magical things start to happen, and imagination, and original ideas, and you begin to get in action on things. So, meditate. Reps and repetition, you have to put the structure in place. Rinse, wash, repeat. Now that we've created a little bit of context, I just want to impart that you have to be available for that creativity. You'll do this work, you do these exercises, you want to be available for this original ideas and these original thoughts to show up in all manner of ways. Let the writers write. Let the designers design. And remember that creativity is a skill. And get creative. That's all I got. Thank you.